So their father, James Smith, is married to a woman whose surname is Robertson, Janet Robertson.
That Cameron Guards isn't why I'm called Cameron, is it? I'm not pointing up there, I'm just stretching my arm.
No. The reason you're called Cameron is a man that I went to university with.
Right.
And his first name was Cameron, and Mum really liked his first name. She thought it was a really nice name.
Okay.
And he was a really nice man, actually. But that's why.
But it was the name rather than the man?
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where was I? Oh, right, yes. So he's married to this woman who comes from quite a big family in Glasgow. Their surname is Robertson. And for all of this time, my mother, Molly, and James... No, not for all of this time, but for in the early years, were living in Glasgow.
Mm-hmm.
They moved to Musselburgh relatively later on. And they seem to have had a fairly normal sort of marriage. She was from this quite big family whose father was a policeman.
Oh.
My mother told me he was a police superintendent.
Okay.
He wasn't, he was a police constable.
Okay.
In Glasgow. And I do know a little bit about him because I have seen an extract of his police record.
Yeah.
His record of service. And he was... I can't find exactly when and where he was born, because the information I've got doesn't tally with anything else. But I do know that as a young man, he served in the army, but I don't know where he served. It's possible that it was in India or Afghanistan.
Okay.
When he came out of the army, he joined the police in Renfrew, which is a small town outside Edinburgh, Glasgow. And then he transferred to the Glasgow police. And he was a constable in the Glasgow police for 30 years. My mother said he was a superintendent. She said that she remembers going to his retirement party.
Right.
She didn't, because the dates just don't work. She says she remembers going in a big black car to his retirement party. In actual fact, she probably went in a big black car to go to his funeral.
Right.
Because he died the same year that James was born.
Okay.
And his name was George Robertson. George Macaulay Robertson. Macaulays are not uncommon Scottish name. And although I do have some information which indicates that the family goes back to, that I can trace possible links back to the late 18th century, 1700s, 80s, 1790s. I'm not 100% secure in that they are real roots because I can't ask anybody. I'm only going by documents. But it's a fairly, I mean, it's not a wealthy family by any means. There's labourers, and somebody was an undertaker, and labourers, that sort of thing. My grandfather, James Smith, he originally came from Dundee, and his family were involved in making jute, which is it's a plant that's used for making rope.
Oh.
And Dundee apparently was a centre for jute making.
Money for rope.
Money for old rope, money for new rope.
Money for new rope.
So, but that's all I know. That's all I know for sure.
You don't have pictures on their side?
Got no photographs. No, that's not true. I've got a couple of photographs, which I'll dig out and show you. There's one which I think you've seen before, the one of my mother and Molly and their mother.
Maybe.
And they're in sort of naval uniforms.
Right.
And she's reading a story to the two girls. I've got a couple of others which are very, very poor quality.
Okay.
One with one of the girls, and I think it's Molly, and James. And I'll dig those photographs out for you. But certainly from the one of my mother, Molly, and their mother, they don't look poverty stricken.
Right.
The one of Molly and James, they certainly don't look in any way prosperous.
Right. Okay.
So that's basically all I know.
Okay. Yeah, there's a little bit of mystery, isn't there?
There's a lot of mystery, and
things don't add up.
It will remain a mystery. And if my mother was still alive, or if Molly was still alive, it would still be a mystery because they won't tell you the truth.
No. So Molly died when I was like 18 or 19?
You were certainly a teenager, I don't know. Yeah.
And she lived... Where was she living then?
She lived in Oxford. I think you went to her house after she died.
Yeah.
Because I was executor to her will.
Yeah, I do. I remember that quite well.
Yeah.
She had a dark room, might have had a piano in it.
Did have a piano in it.
Yeah. Dark back room.
Yeah.
With records. And maybe that sofa that's in my house.
And it was... No, that wasn't there.
Wasn't it?
Wasn't in the back room.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe it was.
And in the front room, she had a bust of her own head.
She did, yeah. And I don't know who did that.
It was gold.
Don't know who did that.
So, Auntie Nikki.
It's Mum's relative.
Oh, okay. Right. What about the guy who crashed a plane off off a boat?
Of an aircraft carrier?
Yeah. I'm sure that's a family story.
It's not one that I know. Might be something to do with Mum's family.
Is it?
It's not. It's certainly nothing to do with my side of the family.
Okay.
I did work with somebody, a policeman, and I think he was lying. I don't think it was true, but he used to tell everybody that he had been a pilot in the Navy. He was the same sort of age as me, maybe a couple of years older. But he'd been a pilot in the Navy, and he'd done all his flying training, and he'd qualified, and he'd been posted to his first operational squadron.
Yeah.
and he had to go and land on an aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
And he didn't. I mean, he got the wheels on the ground, but his hook didn't catch the wires.
Right.
And he didn't. What you're supposed to do is, as you get down, and just as your wheels hit the ground, you're supposed to put full throttle on.
Oh.
Just in case you don't catch
I see.
the wires.
Yeah.
And then you've got enough
Oomph to get out.
to get off. Anyway, he shut the throttles down rather than opening the throttles up,
Right.
so fell off the edge of the aircraft.
Oh dear.
And he said the only reason they allowed him to stay in the Navy was because he had the presence of mind to tell his observer, because it was a two-seat plane,
Yeah.
to eject.
Okay.
So they were both saved,
Okay.
and he was put onto non-flying duties.
Oh, whoops.
And he decided to leave and join the police. I think it was a lie. I don't think that was true.
Okay.
But that was the story that he told. So that's the only link that I have with
Right,
anybody who
okay.
crashed off an aircraft carrier.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like your mum had a difficult time there.
I think she did.
Even lying is, even if it was fantasy, it's probably fantasy to block out some elements of unpleasant reality.
Possibly. And the other thing is, I know from personal experience, not personal experience in terms of lying, but I know from a professional experience of dealing with habitual liars
Yeah.
how difficult it is.
To do.
You have to have a very good memory
Oh, yeah.
to carry off lies,
Yeah.
which is why most criminals get caught, because it's actually very difficult.
Mm.
I can't lie to save my life.
Yeah.